Hi guys, back to another video. This one's a talking video. It's been a while since I've done one of those, so I'm going to do one today. This one's about variations. I've made a few different videos about the topic of variations, but one aspect that I haven't covered is one I'm going to cover today. And some of the things that I've covered are you can use variations for different reasons, and some of the reasons are to avoid accommodation. You could avoid overuse injury, but one of the topics that I haven't covered, and a good reason to use them, is to address weak points in the lift. Now, this is going to be about the bench press because that's what I'm training right now for a meet I have next month. So that's basically what it's going to pertain to. The same applies to any other lift that you want to, use variation in. Okay, so the Larsen press. That's the variation I've been using a lot of lately, along with board presses. But there's a lot of controversy surrounding the Larsen press. I've had a lot of troll comments. I've had a lot of people just wondering about the Larsen press. So we're going to get right into that. One of the questions I was asked about it was, why would I want to use a variation that removes leg drive from the bench press? Like, that what doesn't make no sense, this and that. Now, that's an arbitrary reasoning. It's an arbitrary question. And if you're trying to throw shade on a variation because it removes leg drive, like I said, it's completely arbitrary, because the same can be said of any variation for any reason. Floor presses, it removes leg drive. Why would you want to do pin presses and switch up the eccentric and concentric motions of the lift? It's just, like I said, it's all arbitrary. Nothing's superior to the other. It's what works for you at a certain time that makes it the best choice or not. So let's get right into it. Another question I was asked about it was, why, if I wanted to remove leg drive, wouldn't I just do floor presses? And the short answer to that is because they're completely different, weak points is what they address. They address two completely different weak points. Floor presses are going to address a weak point that's the halfway point to your lockout, while Larsen presses are from your chest to your halfway point. So if you get a weakness off the chest, even though the two movements seem similar, they're completely different, and they're not going to do that. If you get a weakness off your chest, floor presses aren't going to help that, and if you've got a weakness at lockout, Larsen presses aren't going to help that. That's the complete opposite of what you want to do. So I was trying to work a more explosiveness off my chest is what I needed, so that's why I did Larsen presses. So we'll go into why they do that in the particulars so you can kind of understand for yourself how these things work. With the Larsen press, you're removing leg drive. Leg drive helps off the bottom portion of the lift, off the chest. The off the chest motion, leg drive assists that. So when you remove leg drive, it puts more emphasis on that portion of the lift. You have to work harder. So clearly it's a variation that addresses the off the chest portion. Now, the reason should be kind of obvious that floor presses don't do this is because they eliminate that range of motion. Yes, they eliminate leg drive, but they also eliminate the range of motion off of your chest. That's not going to help that. The two negate each other. Yes, you don't have leg drive, but you also don't have the bottom portion of the lift. So there's really no point in eliminating the leg drive in a floor press for that particular reason. Now, another reason for Larsen presses is the higher you have your feet, the more your arch is diminished. When you diminish your arch, it's also increasing range of motion, particularly in the bottom portion of the lift. So it's almost essentially a deficit bench press, which, like I said, puts more emphasis on the bottom portion of the lift. Once again, floor presses, yes, they also diminish your arch, but they also eliminate that bottom portion, that range of motion. So there's no emphasis off the chest with the floor press. And there's no emphasis in that particular sticking point. If your sticking point is in this range of motion, this part of the lift, floor presses aren't going to address that whatsoever, because the lift starts up here. Your elbows can't go all the way down. So that's basically what it is, guys. That's just a simple, brief explanation. This is why you do that. For example, if somebody is throwing shade, saying this is superior, that's superior, they probably don't know what they're doing. If you're someone that you're doing like pin presses for like 12 months at a time, you probably don't know what you're doing, because all those reasons that I just mentioned in the first part of the video, the reasons to do variations, you're avoiding every single one of them. Once you've done one variation for like a whole year, you might as well have just bench pressed for a whole year. There's absolutely no difference, unless you're trying to hide your true strength level and not do bench press because you're afraid everyone will see how weak you are. If you're doing pin presses for a year at a time, then you're not avoiding accommodation because you're doing the same thing. You're not avoiding overuse injuries because you're doing the same thing. And you're not addressing weak points, because if you ever did have a weak point the pin press addressed, it was either addressed long ago or it's never going to work. If it hasn't worked after 12 months, then it's not going to work. But like I said, that's pretty much it, guys. That's all I wanted to say in this video. Just getting straight to the point, letting you guys know. Any comments, questions, suggestions, leave them down in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. Until next time, stay beast, guys. Stay jacked.